Hello, Mark. Good afternoon. Is it? Yes, it is afternoon.
Technically, it's afternoon, but it feels like the morning, Jonathan. Yeah, it's only 8 minutes past 12.
I finished my coffee, and everyone can see that my mug has the appropriate name for me. There, Chancer. Anyway, Mark, so what are we going to do today? We're going to be looking at an interesting game of the first world champion, aren't we?
Yeah, you picked out this game that I remember playing through this as a kid, and it's a Steinitz game. And interestingly, I wasn't that drawn to Steinitz's play when I was a kid because he was quite a positional and close player. But funnily enough, as I came back playing Kingspawn openings later in life, in the last 10 years or so, of course, like I'm looking more at the systems that he played and everything. And his way of playing was kind of very, very advanced for the time. Very, interesting, defensive, but with a little nibble there, always ready for the counter attack. And he'd take on slightly, imbalanced structures in order to try and get a positional edge. So he's actually a very modern player, considering that he was the first world champion.
He had some very dodgy ideas, though.
Okay.
One of which was that the king was a strong piece in the early opening, and he had these weird variations in the king's gambit where the white's king would end up on like e3 by about move 5 or 6, which was, let's face it, it's not great. And
was he in a state of denial about the fact that the king in feudal times was at the top of the food chain, but in reality, on a chessboard, it's the queen?
I don't know. He was born in Prague in the Austro-Hungarian Empire in 1836. He was a year older than Morphy, but his career only started in 1862. After Morphy's career was basically over. So anyway, let's have a look at the game, and it's a famous one. It's in the famous tournament of 1895 Hastings. It was in the summer. The Hastings tournament is still going on after I think it's 100 years going or something like that at least.
Did you ever play in the Hastings tournaments yourself?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
I used to play every Christmas.
Right.
There was an event on, and they used to, when I first played at the age of 14, it was one of the strongest events imaginable in the British Isles. Like it must have had, I don't know, about 40 grandmasters.
Wow.
70 international masters. So FIDE, there were about 500 people. Well, I don't know. It felt like there were hundreds of people playing in the event, but we were well down the list. Coming over. But it was an amazing experience. Wonderful players playing. Actually, many famous greats as well. So
right.
Suetin and Bronstein, they were regulars at the event. So and they always had the top grandmaster tournament in the Hastings Hotel. So unbroken tradition there.
Yeah. This was one of the strongest tournaments ever. It was I think it was like an 18 or 20 player tournament. This was played in round 10, and Kurt von Bardeleban, who was a German. He was like gentry, like the von Bardeleban. That von means of a land area or something, and or of a family. And anyway, Kurt,
like Jenny from the Bronx. like
I don't.
Lopez.
She's
song,
okay. Yeah. Okay, right. I don't know the song, but anyway.
Well, I'm guessing here that Kurt von Bardeleban. Now, if he was a betting man and he wanted to psych out his opponent, he should have gone 2d6 here, possibly into a Philidor. But he went into
mainstream stuff. But anyway, he's on 7.5 out of 9. Steinitz, I think, is on about 3 out of 9. He's doing disastrously. He's lost to Lasker, who's now the world champion, having beaten Steinitz the previous year in a match. He's lost to Pillsbury, who was his student. And I think Pillsbury actually ends up winning the tournament in the end.
Yeah, this was his great win.
His great win,
He suffered from declining health quite rapidly when he was younger, but he had the purple patch where he did really well here. Yeah.
Anyway, they played a Gioco Piano and the Quiet Game. Wasn't that a film? Oh no, that was the Crying Game. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
No, you're confusing two Irish movies: The Quiet Man with John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara, and The Crying Game with a host of excellent actors.
With Bob Hoskins, wasn't it? Bob Hoskins and
no. You're getting really confused. No,
oh, okay.
Crying Game was with Stephen Ray.
Yes.
Stephen Ray, and there were a host of other great actors, including the Irish comedian Tony Slattery, who only passed away recently.
Okay.
As well. You're thinking of the other line, which was the gangster movie set in London, which is one of the great. I can't off the top of my head, can't remember. But yeah, Bob Hoskins, Pierce Brosnan was in that. Sorry.
Okay, so anyway, moving swiftly on. So we played. Steinitz played C3, wants to play D4, and Kurt plays knight F6, trying to make it a bit harder for white to play D4. But old theory, 19th century theory was you play D4, you gambit, and you just get out your pieces as quickly as possible. So we play this, and of course now...
Of course, the ideas, the capitalist ideas, I won't say espoused, but analysed in Karl Marx's great work, Das Kapital, were only becoming known at that time. So everyone was just giving everything away for free still. It was like a beautiful utopia.
It's a bit like us, Mark, with this video.
That's true, yes. Philanthropy is altruism are our number one motives for.
So for people who play this and are only learning the game, one of the things you shouldn't do is you shouldn't bring your bishop back here, because if you do that, these two pawns here, they can roll forward, and I think like e5 and this knight is getting very. It's got to move backwards, or if it goes forwards, it's going to be in a whole
running out
world.
Of squares.
It's running out of squares. Absolutely, it's definitely running out of squares. And like I have some variations here that go, if you play knight up here, you hit the knight with your queen, and apparently the only move now is to play bishop check. And what would you play here, Mark?
Jeepers! Now I'm just going to say, like, if I was to put my bishop in the way, then that solves the problem of the knight and e4.
Yeah,
so the knight could be exchanged.
Sorry, whoops.
So you've got a bit
further. So if you play bishop here, then of course the knight will take, and then now black is fine and probably can play castles and then.
I always like white in these positions, because being a 19th century Renaissance man, at least in terms of how I like to look at the world, so I like the idea of a big centre rolling forward, even if it's a little bit rickety.
Right.
It's a bit sort of like leaky.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I would probably just step aside with the
king. Would you play? You'd play. Yeah, king f1 is the best move, and it keeps a large advantage. And there's now this poor old knight here is in a very dodgy position, and I think, like, if you play d5, we can take en passant, and now we've got the pin.
To follow up with f5, I presume, to defend the knight. No.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it. But then now, if we play f5, black isn't going to be castling for a long time, and if you play bishop f5, there's an amazing move g4.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which is
that's okay. Now let's see. Let's just play g4. Bishop takes, queen takes, e4 check. So what happens after bishop g6? Then let's follow the
bishop g6.
Bishop retreats, yeah.
You play h4, trying to round that bishop up, and after h5, would you believe you now win some?
Oh, bishop d5. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an idea more commonly seen in the Roy Lopez.
It is, yeah, exactly. That's right. That's right.
To be honest, I wasn't even looking for that one there.
Anyway, the variation goes on and on and on, and it's this is computer generated, so I don't like looking at those. But basically, this move bishop b6 here, retreating, is a bad idea, and it was even known back in Victorian times that you had to play this check, and that gets you out of. You don't lose a tempo, because you're attacking the king here, checking it, and so white has to do something, and that gives you time to disrupt these beautiful pawns that
Yeah,
white
the other
has.
thing is also like just as a general rule, sometimes when you're under pressure, now obviously with the bishop and c5 being attacked by that d pawn and the e pawn ready to roll too, it takes a piece exchange should basically relieve pressure on the position.
Yes.
And the more pieces get exchanged, the easier it is to equalize. So it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the game, Steinitz played knight c3, and he was playing this. He played this a few times in the competition in Hastings against other players. I think there was a game he played against Schlechter, and Schlechter played. What, he played knight c3. Oh yeah, Schlechter took the pawn, which is like, Patzer sees a pawn, takes a pawn, or whatever. I don't know. That maybe not quite the correct saying. But
I like Schlechter. When I was growing up, people used to refer to Schlechter as the great master of the draw, but it doesn't look like he's going for a draw here. It looks like he's going for an early bath.
Yeah, well, indeed. But if go here and then they take here, takes, and now Schlechter played d5, which I think is an excellent move. But, and this is a curious thing. When I was looking at doing some research on the history of this game, and I found this terrific website run by Edward Winters, who's I think in English a British historian, but lives in Switzerland, and he's been writing this website for like 30 years at least, very highly respected, and he published some like photocopies of articles that had been published in and around 1895, maybe even up to 1900, because this game was so famous it was still being trotted out in chess columns for newspapers 5 years later, and they mentioned this idea, but what they don't mention, and this is something that when I was a junior, I spent a long time looking at, and that was, I think it's the Mahler attack, and you play d5. You don't take the bishop, and this thing gets really, really complicated. Black normally goes back here, and then you don't take the white doesn't take this knight here with the pawn. You pin the other knight, and we get this knight goes back here, and we take, and there's like d6 is played, and it goes on, and like Kere's analysed this. There's around move 20, there's a piece sack on h7, and it's which apparently it's not quite clear if it's a draw or not, and I think nowadays it's felt that this is unsound for white.
But you're only down a pawn. I suppose this is the thing, isn't it? Like so many interesting lines, we don't play them anymore. But the truth is that sometimes when you play these oddball lines that would be quite obscure to people who don't follow like old master games, you can actually win some beautiful games really fast. Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's worth knowing these classic, masterpieces.
Definitely.
But this didn't happen. So this is a Schlechter game.
Yeah, that was a Schlechter. That was the Mahler attack, but the Schlechter game was he took back there. We might. I don't know what happened in the Schlechter game. I don't know the result because I didn't look enough at it. But instead of this, let's just go back. Von Bardeleban didn't take the pawn, and instead he played d5.
So he kind of looked for a kind of a modern positional solution to it, which is just he's going to basically strike back in the center and leave white with an isolated queen's pawn.
And of course, this knight here is pinned. And actually, Mark, that's something I was giving a talk in my chess club last night on pins, and something when I was doing the research for trying to find some nice positions, one of the things I noticed was pins they're composed of three pieces. There's the pinning piece, which is this the bishop. You've got the pinned piece here, the knight, and you've got the target here, which is the king.
Pinnee.
I guess the pinnee, but anyway, the target, and you'll see that we've got it's a straight line.
Yeah.
And pins always have these three pieces in a straight line. There's and I've never seen that written down anywhere that says a pin is straight, because like when I look at a chessboard, I'm always looking for these laser beams like shooting out from squares. And by looking for those laser beams, those lines, I automatically find pins or the possibility of pins.
So you're almost saying that like all the pieces on the board, they have their own aura and they have their own energy fields, and they project their energies in certain directions, that kind of thing. That's how I sometimes explain it to kids as well. Complete beginners. Like so to think of them as superheroes, which all have their own special powers, but they basically, their energy fields is focusing in a certain direction, or certain directions, but they can't do everything.
Sure.
The knight is that
I mean the knight and the king, because the knight and the king cannot pin.
No,
they can't be used as a pinning piece because they're not long range. Okay, anyway, so we have so because of that knight there is not attacking the pawn on d5. So this d5 pawn is only under pressure from the bishop and the pawn, and it's protected by the knight and the queen. So this is perfectly decent move. Anyway, Steinitz took off. And
actually, I like Black's position here. Black's got like a strong central knight in the middle of the board. And White has to be careful here that he doesn't get saddled with kind of a weak d pawn going into an ending.
Sure.
So I mean, this is very like eminently playable for Black.
Yeah, I think so too. Anyway, White castled and said, go on.
And so now there's a threat on d5 suddenly. So the pin is gone.
The pin is gone, and so we've got to do something. And like one thing you might think of, well, I suppose let's be greedy. Let's take this. And now, what would you do here, Mark? What would you do here?
Well, this is an interesting one because one of the things about I always look at in positions is that once I get castled myself, I'm always thinking, when will I be able to get my rook to an open file? And already there's an open file on the e file that rook could potentially go to. But on another level, you're always assessing that one side is castled and the other isn't. And so the black king, for the time being, is exposed in the center of the board. Now, you'd love to go like rook e1 check, but the bishop on c3 is covering that square.
Yeah.
And queen e2 check doesn't really help the white cause because you can block with the queen. In some instances, you might even drop the knight back to bring the other knight from c6 to e7 to d5 to go back and then take over, control the center. But the interesting thing is that like whenever you're playing a open king's pawn position or even an open Sicilian and you have a bishop on c4, you're always looking for tricks.
And where's the magic square? Exactly. This is the magic square, f7, and
I think here. I mean, it could become very critical very quickly if we just play bishop takes f7 check, because at the very least we can follow up with queen to b3 check and pick up the bishop on c3.
So okay.
I'd be looking at that.
Okay, Mark, you're obviously a man that didn't look at the classics of the 19th century.
No, but
you must have played too many Catalans and Englishes when you were in your formative years. But I was an Evans Gambit man, and of course,
I know what you're going to say now. But you got to remember that at the age of 6, I was reading, Marx's Das Kapital.
Das Kapital. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you were right. So
I was focused on getting the material benefits of any exchange.
But I would automatically have played Queen B3 here, and I give up this rook, and then we take that pawn.
Yeah.
And now the thing is that like if you go here, there's this little
boom shakalaka boom.
Yay!
Like to say. I thought I'd get in there before you, John.
And if you go here, you can.
I see a pin coming.
A pin?
Potentially. Well, there's a few things you can do here, but I see. Well, bishop check and g5. No, oh, it's kind of a
Yeah, bishop
it's a
g5,
skewer.
biship
It's a
g.
skewer.
It's a
It's a type
skewer.
of pin. Yeah,
Exactly.
type of pin. Yeah.
Well, it's the opposite of a pin, but because you've got to move the middle piece has to get out of the way. But yeah, so this is going to you're going to win the queen, and this bishop is actually trapped. The bishop is trapped because it's not going to be able to do anything there. So that wouldn't be great. And if you go, the last option is to go here. And then we played the bishop out to a3 check, and again, it's almost checkmate. So you have to go here, and then we can play. Actually, there's an amazing idea. Would you believe? Give us
a second now. Let's have a look.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I was just going to say, yeah, but I mean, straight away the black king is stuck, can't move anywhere.
Yeah.
So it has no actual square, and the first thing you'd be thinking is, well. If I can build up more pressure on that knight in e7, I might then be able to, win the queen as well. So the first obvious move is just to put the rook to e1 and then play bishop takes e7 check. That looks good. There might be something deeper here as well. Just having a look. There could even be so there's other problems that for black here. So for example, if this is where you kind of visualize. If you could drop a rook on e8 check now, and pick up your rook in f1 and put it on e8, then it wouldn't be mate, but you'd win the queen. So you might be thinking along the lines here, I wonder, is there a way for me to find a way to win the queen as well? But I don't see an obvious way. But anyway, so I would have gone rook e1 here.
Yeah, I think rook e1 is fine. And it puts an awful lot of pressure. You're going to win this night. You're going to win the queen as well, aren't you? I think from there was one suggestion that I saw. I think from the machine. I'm not sure if it's after rook e1 or if you can play this move immediately, which looks like incredible. And after this,
yeah, lovely.
Oh, actually, no, I know what it is. It's not. Oh, is it this one? Yeah, you go here. You go up here. You go up here.
And mate in f7.
Well, yes, threatening to go here. Whoops, I can't pick up that queen yet. And if you protect against it there, then there's this little shakalaka boom, which is the end. But what I don't see is what you do if this happens, because I don't see a checkmate here. Do you see a checkmate?
It comes the other way. Well, no, not initially. But what about just going rook e1 here?
Yeah, rook e1.
You are threatening. So.
And now you're threatening the rook, I guess, as well, aren't you?
Because you're pinning the knight to the king, and queen takes g8 check looks pretty hard to stop.
Well,
rook takes e7 check.
I'm just going to go there.
Okay. Well, then actually, I've got a better idea. Can we go back for a second?
Yeah.
So, you're right. So, after king e8 there... No, knight c5 looks really strong.
Sorry, hang on. Sorry, I've got... after king e8, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so you're right. So if we go queen f7 check first...
Oh, okay.
Just and force the king to d7.
Yeah.
And now go rook e1. And the idea being that you're just going to play rook takes e7 check.
Yes, that looks very strong, doesn't it?
And if you go rook e8, then it's just queen to e6 checkmate.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Now,
yes,
that's kind of going to playing into what White wants as well there. So maybe the way out of that for black is to go b6 or something, to try to give the king a square that they can run away to. But it doesn't look like you're going to get very far.
Yeah.
After just rook e7 check.
Okay, rook e7, king here. Do I play queen? I can play queen here check, can't I?
Yeah, you can. So you could go there and then queen d5 and then rook takes c7 check, and you win the queen. I did see
Yeah.
spot something better there. I'll show you in a minute. But yeah,
Okay.
so here rook takes check, king takes, and queen takes d5. So you got down to weirdly enough into an ending where you're only actually 2 points up. Is it or queen? No, actually it's even.
It's roughly even. Yeah. You've got a pawn. You've got a pawn and queen for 2 rooks.
Yeah. Well, but
Which
you can
is,
take advantage.
yeah.
Remember, I played. Now it's interesting about the low-hanging fruit there. I played rook takes e7 because
Yeah.
it's more powerful to play rook takes with a major piece that's checking in the process. But
Oh,
actually,
but
the
you can
black's
take with a
problem is-
bishop, is it? You take with a
Yeah,
bishop and you hit the queen.
and then the queen. In order to not lose the queen, you have to go queen e8. But then that sets up the mating trap again.
Yeah, that's nice.
So-
That's nice.
That looks pretty good.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna-
these kind of positions that aren't they great fun to look at because you just find all these beautiful mates.
Do you know, I used to be an Evans Gambit player. What happened to me, Jonathan? Where's the romantic spirit gone? And all these positional games. You know what they say? We all start out playing the King's Gambit, but live long enough, and you end up playing the London system. Now I haven't got that far. But,
I've played the London system once.
I
I played the London system once. I played it really badly and allowed this queen b6 and bishop f5, and I couldn't take because I'd lose my rook. And I slowly, and it was against Tim Harding, who's one of Ireland's most esteemed chess historians.
And authors, yeah.
And authors, yeah.
Very prolific author, yeah.
But and I eventually I played it out, and I got a slight disadvantage, but kept on playing and slowly brought the game around in my favour. So yeah, it was. No, I'm not playing. I'm never going to play the London again. It's an awful opening.
No. If you're going to go down that path, go down the Trompowsky route. That's much more fun.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so Bardeleban anyway didn't take the knight. He wasn't interested in going into all that kind of like complexity. He just brought out his bishop, which seems like a sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
And Steinitz developed his last minor piece to g5, hitting the queen. And here, I guess he's, I don't know, Bardeleban anyway thought for a while and decided to retreat the bishop.
It's an interesting choice to make there.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably, I don't know. I liked having that bishop on b4 x-raying the e1 square because I'm always conscious you're going to get it, and I know this game anyway. You're going to get in trouble in the e file.
Yeah.
But the thing is that keeping the bishop on b4 keeps pressure on c3.
Right.
And also like with bishop on b4, so if you just move the queen, for example, to d7, so instead of bishop to e7 here. You've got pressure on c3. You've also got a threat of knight takes c3 and bishop takes c4. Black has some concrete threats that white has to address if you basically keep the bishop on b4. But anyway, okay.
Anyway, he played bishop e7, and now a whole load of minor pieces got swapped off. It was like the great swap off, and so we had bishop takes knight. Bishop takes, knight takes here.
And you know what? This is interesting. Like it's a very big decision from white to swap off when you look at that weak d pawn.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, indeed.
Because this is the ultimate. This is the ultimate do or don't I position for black. Like, do you exchange off all the pieces? And basically, you only exchange off the pieces if you're sure that pawn can never advance from d4 to d5. But he's got problems here because his king is not castled.
Yeah.
So I think all those exchanges before you castle are just as a general principle, allowing them is a bit risky. So I don't know.
Sure. In the game, Kurt von Bardeleban took the knight. If he could have taken this, but I think there's just this little check here. That looks that wins a pawn, and that will be, I guess
difficult defense.
Yeah. Difficult defense. So yeah, I mean, it mightn't be totally lost, but it's definitely white will be very happy out of the opening a pawn up like this. So anyway, Bardeleban took there, and now we took off, and I was last night I was showing this game to people in my club, and I did wonder, like, could black just take with the king.
Wow. That is a brilliant idea, actually, because all the problems that Black faces in the ensuing game are based on this awkward pin that he's going to run into.
I mean, obviously you play check, but I was just like, okay, so I mean, I do wonder where Black should go now with the king. It doesn't.
That's a good question.
It doesn't look great, but I'd even suggest playing to f6 with the king, because I don't want to stay on the d file. I don't want to go to d7 because I think knight will go up to e5 check or something like that. And I don't want to go back to f8 or d8.
It's interesting though. Yeah.
So I don't know.
I just lost you there for a second there.
Okay,
Gonzer.
apologies.
No problem. That's okay. So just whatever you were saying there, you can just.
Yeah, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to f8 because it blocks in the rook on h8. I don't want to go to.
But for how long though? How long? But go on anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to go to the d file because, and I just wondered, like, can Black?
Oh, you're fearless. But you know what? Sometimes a faint heart never won a fair game. It's my own little,
Fair enough.
So, I'm a little bit worried about your c pawn though. So straight away I'm looking in a position like this. I'd be automatically thinking in this position, okay, the Black king is exposed.
How are you getting your queen up there?
Well, so okay, this is how I think in a position like this.
Okay.
I'm playing a blitz game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm playing a blitz game here. Maybe in a longer game, I'd think differently. I'd be looking at this position, and if you take away the circle around the c7 square for a second, I'd just glance at the position, and I'd say, okay, the king is out in the open.
Yeah.
So when the king is out in the open, there's always the possibility of a fork, especially with the queen's on the board.
Yeah.
So, and I'm looking to see, well, what pawns are unprotected.
Okay.
And there's only like the b pawn and the c pawn.
Yeah.
So, but I'd be looking at the c pawn and saying, okay, that c pawn is vulnerable to a potential fork on f4.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, queen d2 brings the white queen to a square where it's looking like it might be getting primed to cause some difficulties for the Black king. So if g6 now, you run into queen f4 check, king g7. And then queen takes c7. Now, the d pawn is hanging, but it's
so is the b pawn.
Not simple, but also you've got problems on the f7 square. Like if a move like knight takes d4 here, I'd almost be tempted to. Well, I don't know if it works yet, but let's see. You could just take and go.
Well, you must be able to do just this. Like this must be huge.
Well, queen takes b2.
Yeah.
Queen
takes b2.
Okay, and you're going to triple. Don't forget your back rank.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's actually. Would you believe there are two games? There are two games that have been played in this position on Lichess. Yeah. One is a bullet game and the other is a rapid game. My God, incredible, and a win apiece, which is
so that's not that clear.
It's not that clear. No, it isn't. It's weird.
There's no need to give pawns. But so let's say, the thing is, let's go back for a second. So when you've gone king g7 there, I think it does make sense to take on c7. So we can. Oh, I see. We missed it.
Okay,
we missed it.
So we take on c7. Yeah.
Yeah, and after knight takes d4, what we've missed again is a very simple winning move for white here, because we've been focused on the way you always say that pins always work in straight lines, but sometimes that straight line is on a diagonal.
Oh,
so queen c3.
Very good. Yeah. And that actually that's important. It's important that the target here is the king. So and when the target is a king. The pinned piece can only stay. It can only move along the pinning line.
Sure.
And as a knight doesn't move diagonally, it's stuck. Because I was looking at the move I was looking at here was rook here. And of course, that allows you to take here with check, and it gets you out of dodge. So, but queen c3, beautiful move.
That's a killer, yeah.
It's a killer, and it gets worse, because if you play, say, rook here, the other rook comes in, and this knight cannot be defended again. And it's just dropping. Yeah. It's dropping. So,
and the interesting thing is, so this idea. So when the king goes out into the open like that, my initial instinct is to look for. So just glance around the position, look for a weak pawn, and then just check. Because the other thing about queen d2 there, which makes it a useful idea in that position.
Yeah, let's go back to queen d2.
But by the way, there might even be something stronger there in the position, but it's a practical move.
Okay, okay, Mark, I'm going to up the ante here. Like I mean, I would never play king takes e7 in the game. I have to put it there to you. But like when you're explaining to people, you suddenly think, okay, but why? It's not just good enough to say, well, we just don't do those kind of things. And in fact, that was the argument that people like Tarash and Nimzovich would often say, well, we just don't do that kind of stuff. And people like Alapin...
Well, they wouldn't say that. They would say, it is not done, young man.
It is not done. It is not done, young man. Absolutely. But Simeon Alapin, of Alapin's... the Alapin variation in the Sicilian, his fame, he would have said, well, actually, show us a variation. Show us a variation.
Yeah.
And,
so he was the guy who said that. So, and you're probably looking at G5 now.
I'm looking at G5, yeah. Keith Arkell's favourite move.
Yeah, no, the beauty of this is that there are a couple of very strong ideas here for white.
Okay.
So, straight up, you're looking at the G pawn, but really...
now, I wonder. Mark, I have an idea.
Well, I was just going to say, but all the exciting stuff is in the middle of the board. So, usually... a flank attack is best, countered in the center.
Right.
But so I'd glance at a position like this, and I'd notice straight away that the black queen is undefended on d5.
Yeah.
Which gives you certain possibilities. You can actually set up a mate in 2 here straight away, or else you win the
folks,
black queen.
Everybody, have a look. It's a move that I was wondering about, but it was only when I just thought of it as an exchange sack, but when you mentioned that the black queen was unprotected, that my spidey sense went straight off the roof, out the window, and it definitely suggested the move that I wanted to play anyway. But
it's a counterintuitive move in a way, because the obvious move here is just to go and play knight e5 here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And then you've got potential to play against knight g4 check, or open the f file, f4 rook f1, something like that. Yeah. Like maybe in the future. But actually, there's all sorts of problems that line. But the move,
this move here, it's a terrific move, and it's threatening to take here. It's threatening to take here. So you have to take. This has to be done. And now, unfortunately, there's check. The queen is now under attack. But it's a check, and black can't take with the queen because the knight is protecting the pawn. So the king has to protect the queen. And now
it's simple, because you just have to. If the only piece protecting the queen is the king, you just need to find a way to.
And we do that.
From
check
its current duties. Yeah.
And now it continues, though, Mark. It's not quite as simple. And now we bring our other rook over. I always like to have all my pieces working in the attack. And the only move here to continue on is this move. And now actually
we can pause for a moment and then ask ourselves, well, how can we win that queen? Once again, it's all about chasing the king, isn't it? And then seeing what you can get.
Yeah.
And so play a check, might be mate.
My original idea was to take on f7, but I'm now reconsidering my options.
Oh, you found something nicer than that? But f7 check would seem to win on the spot. But as in a couple of moves, you pick up the queen easily enough.
I was looking at knight e4 check, which probably does similar. But knight f7 was my first thought, like you say, and you've got to stay protecting the queen. So, and we can't. Yeah, again here now we've got the queen. This queen here is pinned to its king, and so it can't take the knight on f7. It's no good. It's not, that knight is not under attack by the black queen. So we would have to play our king, I guess, either here or here. It doesn't really matter though, does it?
It's not going to make a difference
because now we just play check, and now the only move is if you move the king to the b file, we lose the queen, and if you play queen here, we're going to we're just going to take this, and then we're going to take this, and we're then going to play a fork. And that rook is toast.
But actually, John, sir, if I can say, if I might be so bold, I actually do think that your move knight e4 check is more accurate, because I think you're right. Like knight takes f7 check is just practical. You see you're winning the rook in the corner. But now the thing is, if they go to c6, it's certainly more accurate, because they're
if you go here, we've got our check.
You've got rook check, and there's no way to block.
There's no way to block, and so we lose the queen, and the king will be mated soon enough.
The question is, the complication arises when the king actually goes back onto the e file and tries like king e6 or something.
Okay, but then we have this cunning move, knight c3 check.
Yeah, and so I see it then. Queen e5, and then the brilliance.
Yeah. Go on. You saw it first.
Well, no, I didn't. We both. So no, it's your line. You play.
Okay. We play queen d5 check, because again, this queen is pinned, and you can't do anything about it. So yeah,
it's nice, isn't it?
It's beautiful, and wherever this goes, we then take this check, and it's over. Okay, so that's a bit of fun. So but that was after. That was we were looking if king takes e7. So king takes e7. I mean, obviously the two of us will say no. You're mad to do that. But it takes quite a while. It takes a while to figure out why it's so bad.
But it's not so bad. So the point is, like, the way I look at this, I think king takes e7 is a stellar idea. Okay. Because white will probably not even hesitate for a second to play rook e1 check.
Okay, I'm just going to turn on the engine very briefly to see what it says.
Well, it's going to tell you to put the king back in f8. I'm pretty sure.
It actually says after king takes e7 here. After king takes e7, it likes the move rook c1.
This is the point. See, the obvious move here is rook e1 check, which pretty much nobody could resist.
Yeah.
Because, but let's play. Let's go. Let's turn off the engine for a second, and then we can check afterwards. Yeah. See, what chess player in their right mind could resist from playing rook e1 check here? In light of the lines we just looked at, my opponent might go to f6. My opponent might go to d6 or d5. But after rook e1 check, here, if the king just comes back to f8. You have a chance here to survive into an ending, and the reason you have a chance is because you have a better structure, and the queen on d5 blocks that d pawn, and it's very hard to coordinate an attack, and white is just but one move away from playing. So black is but one move away from playing g6 and king g7.
Right.
Connects the rooks. So you're very close. So remember what I said earlier about these isolated Q pawns. Like this is obviously going to be better for white. Here, black would anticipating g6 here. White should probably go
queen d2,
play queen d2 or rook c1, but it's not as clear cut maybe as it might have been. So let's say you go queen d2 here.
Queen d2 stops g6, because if you play this, this is going to be horrible.
Horrible,
and you have to go there and look at this stupid rook in the corner. Dreadful.
Yeah, but at the same time, after queen d2, you could just as black. You could instead of even, you could go rook d8 maybe, and follow it with h6. Like you are groveling here, but you're alive.
Yeah. True. And you play h6 and then g6, and you'll slowly bring out your pieces. True.
But see, this is the thing. You see, if you're looking at this with an engine, just as we were, and we
Yeah.
saw, oh no, but they don't go rook e1 check; they go rook c1. There's a general premise here with IQPs, which we were talking about earlier. That IQPs being an isolated queen's pawn, is that if the pawn can't move forward from d4 to d5, it's a weakness. But if that pawn moves forward from d4 to d5 and kicks the knight, then suddenly it becomes this very dangerous variable in the position. So rook c1 basically is saying I'm going to get rook c5 in and then d5 really fast before you can get organized.
Yeah.
So maybe and also you're stopping the knight in c6 from moving because the rook takes c7 check. Now I'd be curious to see what the engine says here. So I mean, obviously black.
It says you bring a rook to the e file.
Okay.
And it says actually, now it's thinking of h6. Interestingly enough, it doesn't want b6 because b6, I think you just add to the pressure by playing queen c2 or and so you can't. So you can't really
queen
stop
A4.
rook c5. You can't, or queen a4, and you can't really stop. You can't really stop rook c4, rook c5.
No.
And in fact, so the machine says you go here and rook c5 and queen d6, say, and then h3. Just
this is an interesting one. Like what?
So again, this is just what this is one of those engine evaluations that's saying I've just got a really nice position and I'm up. It's so nice that it's worth 2
It's
pawns.
not that simple because it's so easy to make a
No,
mess
it's not.
of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think king takes d7 is a really good practical try. I think it was
Okay,
a good suggestion,
okay.
John. There, I like it, and actually, you're anticipating like big trouble coming down that e file.
Yeah.
And,
Okay, I'll turn this off now. Yeah. Okay, so then we go.
Yeah.
So anyway, in the 19th century, they like a player of Bardeleban's standard would not have played king takes e7. He played knight takes e7, and he probably.
Can I tell you a funny story? I was once invited over to Italy to play in a playoff for my team with my good friends Carlo Rossi and Federico Manca,
Right.
Who passed recently. But we went over to play this match, and in the match I was playing against a Torre attack. And my opponent played bishop b5 check at some point, and I actually went, instead of blocking because I wanted to keep my bishop, I went king f8, and the sponsor of the team was in the room and he was looking at my position, and he went up to one of the other players and he said, cosa è successo? Mark sta giocando come incipiente. He said, what's happened? Mark's playing like a beginner. After I went king f8. But it was the accurate move, and I actually went on to win the game. But the whole point was that the bishop was displaced on b5, and by going king f8, I was completely like...
You're just leaving it misplaced, yeah.
But he was just saying, he's playing like a beginner. He said, I paid for him to come to Italy. What's going on?
Why am I wasting my money on this guy?
Exactly,
this fool, yeah.
So, who is this clown, he was saying. Like...
the clown we love, Mark. The clown we love.
Yes.
Anyway, so Steinitz popped the rook onto e1, and now is threatening rook e5 and tripling on the e file. Black can't castle either direction because the knight is unprotected, and it's kind of tricky. And I think because to stop rook e5 gaining a tempo on the queen. He played f6.
Okay. And this is very interesting because I actually had almost this very position in the Kilkenny club championships in the last month or two against Shane McCabe.
And were you channeling your inner Steinitz or your inner von Bardeleban?
I was unfortunately channeling my inner von Bardeleban.
Okay.
But I had this precise structure against on the black side of a Danish attack or a Goring gambit. I might look at another time, but it doesn't bring happy memories. The game was a draw in the end. So it was a hard fought draw.
Right.
But the point is that it does conjure some bad memories potentially. Now I didn't get into trouble as Bardeleban did. My position was actually a bit better.
Well, you weren't. Your opponent obviously wasn't as tactically proficient as the redoubtable Wilhelm Steinitz.
Well, I think also you could say that defensive in those days, all they really knew how to do and all they trained to do was just to attack. Whereas now, of course, if you look at it, like there was a whole period of great world champions who were brilliant defenders. So Botvinnik was a great defender. He's a very positional player, so positional attack, street attack, but Petrosian.
Yeah, true.
One of the most defensive, brilliant defensive geniuses. So anyway, so what happened here?
So he played Queen E2. Yeah. The Queen went back to defend the knight. Yeah, and we brought in our rook. And there's apparently King F7 is a possible way to survive this position, just to play this here, but.
It looks okay. It's like playable. I mean, more than surviving here. It depends. This is the critical moment. So in my game against Shane, I was in difficulty because he found a way to get that d pawn to d5 really fast.
Now that's really interesting. That's really interesting because here, von Bardeleban was obviously thinking of the same problem as yourself, and he played c6, and Steinitz said, I'm going forward. And he played d5 anyway. And terrific move. It opens up the game, and it gives this poor knight on d4, on f3 a square to go to on d4, which that knight is going into from there to it's going to go to e6.
Yeah, and that's interesting, isn't it? Because if you go back from before he played d4, d5, Steinitz has basically focused his energies on. He's basically looking at that e6 square and he's thinking, if only you could get a knight there.
Yeah,
and then he's thinking to himself, so he's reverse engineered it.
Right.
For a knight to go from f3 as fast as possible to e6, it has to go either through g5 or d4.
Yeah,
and that's where the idea maybe to sack the positional pawn sack.
Sure, absolutely.
And actually, the thing is, it's a really nice idea, and it's a very, very kind of lethal idea. I wonder. So after d5,
yeah. So you can't take with the queen because you'll be mated, and the knight is pinned. So he took with the pawn.
Can you go king f7 just for a second? Can you just I'm sure you can't, but I just wondered why.
If king f7,
there's loads of ideas here for white.
I guess you just play pawn takes pawn.
Yeah, and what? So
and if knight takes, we've got queen c4. If knight takes, we've got queen c4 check.
Yeah,
and that must be either the king goes backwards, breaking the communication between the rooks. Or you play really dangerously by playing king to g6, which seems mad.
You have to be losing fast there.
Yeah. So you can't. I don't think you can take with the knight. And if you take with the pawn, well then, the structure is now much better for white. Plus the development is these two rooks are still sitting on their home squares, not taking part, and we just play a move rook here, rook here, and now we get e6. We'd get the e6 square for the queen, so the queen has to stay protecting the knight, but has to get off the d file. So we go here, say, and now we got check, and again the king can't go to g6 because the knight is gone, so it'll have to play, I don't know, say here. And what do we play now? We can play we play a move like knight d4?
Oh, I just seen a beautiful combination here. Yes.
So
I can see how you win here. You go knight d4.
Right, okay. And if we play rook d8, which
I want to play queen takes e7 check, and now this is the moment where you can liquidate.
So
very
brilliant, liquidating.
Takes check.
You've got to take back, and now we have a fork.
Yeah. And
Here
if you go backwards,
and here.
you use the rook, and if you don't, we swap.
Well, if you go say here, we're just going to take
forced exchange,
and we're up a whole piece and a pawn, and that's just going to be winning.
Okay, thanks for answering that query, because people might be wondering, well, what about that? Sometimes you can just ignore, a pawn push like that.
But no, that's beautiful variation, Mark. Lovely. Okay, and he played d5, and von Bardeleban took. And now what happened? Oh yeah, played the knight to d4. Again, black can't castle, so he played king f7. And
it's an interesting moment to stop for a second, because it's not it's not that you don't have loads of compensation here, but a black player could be optimistic here and say, well, my rooks are connected, my king is nestling in on the f7 square, sheltered by lots of pawns. The knight on e7 is covering key squares. Show me what you got. But this is an interesting thing, is that when you throw a knight into this banner, like here with dropping in an e6, I remember, funnily enough, playing against Edward Gufeld, a Russian grandmaster, when I was playing in Hastings once, and there was an opportunity to put a knight on e6, and he said to me after the game, he said, "Why did you put your knight on e6? Don't you realize that when a knight gets to the 6th rank, it's no longer a horse, it's an elephant?" So dropping the knight into e6 kind of like turns the knight into this super dynamic piece, because it is still reaching out in like 8 different directions. But it's reaching deeper. It's covered.
It's all there. It's the octopus. So he went there, and now of course he's threatening to play the rook to f7. Not to f7, to c7. That's my old descriptive notation that I learnt back in the day, confusing me. But yeah, rook c7 is a big threat, and all those lines there will be dangerous. So Bardeleban played his h rook to c8, and now he's hoping he's
creating an escape square for the king to g8.
Exactly. Indeed. And so he played queen here.
Now, by the way, this is an interesting move here, because straight away it's threatening queen takes g7 check. But once again, continuing the theme, and it was interesting that you brought up these themes of pins and stuff. It's also x-raying the queen on d7, which is unprotected. So good attacking players, like Steinitz was obviously one of the greatest. He could see immediately that the queen was on d7 unprotected, and he was looking for a way somehow to create 2 threats. So here you can see the principal 2 weaknesses at play. That the first weakness is the obvious weakness is the pawn on g7, but then he's seen another potential weakness with the queen unprotected on d7, and he's found a way through queen g4 to basically target both weaknesses at the same time, and that's when positions crack. Defenses break down, and that's what this happens. You'll see in the game.
I think here I was just looking. I mean, there's a couple. If you play rook takes rook, then it's very quick. The end is almost immediate. The king can't take the queen because of the knight, so it has to go back to e8, and we've just got a shakalaka boom moment for us.
Boom boom.
So that wouldn't have worked. The other move I was looking at here was if the knight blocks the attack on g7, but now this is much worse, because now we play our check. It's a discovered attack against the unprotected queen.
So you protect one weakness, the pawn on g7, but you're not able to protect the other on d7.
Exactly, and now because we moved the knight, the e file is completely. The king can't walk onto the e file at all because of the white's rook. So black is going to lose their queen on the next move, say after here. And we played that, and it's the whole thing. The game falls apart for black. So that's why he had to play g6. And and now we played knight he played knight g5 check. And again, Bardeleban thinks, I can play back.
I can hold this.
I'm not going to take the knight because I'd lose my queen. And here we go, Mark. Here is the start. And I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And when I was researching this earlier this morning, looking at the historical descriptions of it, I didn't find an answer. But the next move...
Welcome, I am the oracle. How can I help you?
Okay, as a player here, as a strong player,
okay,
that, and Steinitz was even stronger than you, I'd have to say. But
nonsense.
But
go on.
I suspect, and I'd be interested to know. I suspect that Steinitz played his next move pretty quickly, and thought, this game is just over after this next move. And Bardeleban had seen a little bit deeper and found a terrific reply, which forced Steinitz then to come up with this incredible combination. So that's my theory. But the other hypothesis is that actually in this position Steinitz saw to the very end, which gives mate on move 35. We're on move 22 here.
Okay, so you're asking me, did Steinitz play rook takes e7 check, seeing the ends already?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
and the reason why this is an easy move in a way to play is that if you look at the two obvious captures here, then in this position suddenly this rook is it's not protected by the queen. It's only protected by its mate here on a8, but we've got two attacking it, so we can play check, and check here, and the queen has to interpose, and
we can even
we can exchange, and we're just winning. We're just winning everything.
Yeah.
So that's the first easy option. The next option is to take with the king. This is a bit harder, but there are lots of nice options here. And I think the best of them, most of the historical sources played, they said rook e1 check. And you've got to go if
d8.
If you go d8, there's knight e6 check, which is pretty horrible. So if you go here, there's knight e6 check. If you play, if you go, you can't go to the c file now because the knight's blocking. So if you go anywhere onto the e file, suddenly there's knight discover check. And we're just winning the queen. So that's not going to do it. So you have to play here. You have to play king d6 check. King d6, getting out of the check. And I think then there's queen check here. And there's rook blocks. That's about the only move.
Maybe change the direction, maybe.
And now. What do you see? There's a couple of nice looking options here.
Well, see, putting the rook in c5 takes that square away from the king. So now you can swing the queen back over and go queen f4 check probably. And I just thought I'd be...
Oh.
Well, actually, no. So I go queen... I'd be looking at something like...
You'd be looking at this queen here. And
it'd be first thing I'd look at queen f4 check and rook e6. Or then the other move would be knight e4 check. Which also looks nice.
In contemporary analysis, it was knight e4 check was played.
Okay.
And after here, you play rook check. But again, what happens after this?
King c6.
Yeah, how if we play, we can't play rook takes d7 because we're going to be mated on the back rank.
Well.
And I don't want to play queen takes c5 check, because that gives me a rook and pawn ending, and I'm down a pawn, and black has the better king. So And if I play queen takes e4 check, then the rook
King
can block.
B5 maybe?
Or no.
Or no.
No, I play
King
rook.
B6,
No, because my. Oh, I still. Yeah. Oh, okay,
still
right.
have
Yeah.
the mating idea.
Yeah. Because the rook, the queen still can't be taken because we'll have back rank mate.
Well, I was just
Wow.
if you go back to the original idea of queen f4 check, I mean the one that jumped out to me was like
In this position, instead of knight e4 check, after
king d6.
After king d6, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd have probably gone queen b4 check.
Yeah, okay.
Rook c5.
Yeah.
And now queen f4 check.
Okay.
And follow that straight away after king c6 with rook e6 check, because the queen in f4 covers the back rank on c1.
Very good. Yeah.
So that forces the king there, and after king b5, I'd probably gone a4 check.
Okay.
King a5, and then just play b4 check.
b4 check, and you're picking
picking up the rook, and now
you got to take here, and this is now discovered check.
Yeah.
And so we have time to take the f pawn, and keep our knight and.
Yeah, we'll probably just mate the white king. So like if king b5 here, or the black king, if king b5, you could take the pawn straight away. Maybe there's something even stronger. Just maybe there's also rook takes f6. Why not? It's just isn't that simple?
Oh.
Our queen takes f6 allows you then to go queen b2 check.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, you've got to be winning here.
Yeah, I mean, you're up a piece. You're up a piece, and
you've got an attack.
And we'll play h4 or h3 to give us a luft, as we say.
You don't necessarily see the Gianni Skakis is here.
Very good. Welcome,
Gianni. Benvenuto.
Yeah, actually, okay. So, that was one thing. But after king takes e7. Apart from rook e1, which was the move that everyone was suggesting in contemporary sources, there's queen b4 check immediately. And this seems to be just much quicker.
Okay.
And again, you can't... Although, what happens after queen... Oh, no, queen b6, we've got queen takes b7 check, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's... If you go back... Yeah, there's a nice mate here. If you go back to d8, we've got check. Queen has to block. The only way to stop the checkmate. The knight comes in here. Check. The king goes here, and suddenly we have high 70s fashion. We have the dynasty of checkmates, or the dynasty of checkmates, the Joan Collins of checkmates, because. This is
the theme tune of my youth on TV. Whenever that came on, I go, "Oh no!"
And your parents would watch it. Shoulder pads, and of course, and these are the shoulder pads, and it's the epaulette mate. What this is called, mate. The epaulette mate. Yes, yeah. So there's that little trick, and if king e8. Then suddenly now our rook comes over, check, and you can't. The knight is stopping the king going out to f7, and the queen is stopping it going to f8. So it's got to move. It's got to move this way, and now here we can just simply win the queen. We play check, and the funny thing is that in this position, because of our queen on b4, now there's no longer a back rank mate, because we've got this interposition, and our queen is happy to come backwards.
Yeah, you asked this interesting question, going right back to the beginning of this line, just for people who joined us now. Jonathan, we're looking at this game between Wilhelm Steinitz and Kurt von Bardeleban, played in Hastings. And he was asking me, I'm thinking that I have some great insight because I'm an IM. I probably don't, but anyway, but thanks for the compliment of presuming that I have something intelligent to say, Jonathan. But the point is that after rook takes e7 check, did he see king f8, which is the amazing move that he played?
Correct.
So he didn't. And did he see it when he played rook takes e7 check? I would say he was Was he world? What
He was
year
world.
this?
He was. It's 19. It was 1895. He had been world champion from, I think, 1880. Was it 1876, 1886 to 1894 when he lost his match against Lasker. But yeah, he was still a very strong player. He would have been in 1895. He would have been 59. So he wasn't a spring chicken.
I wasn't a spring chicken, but he was a dedicated, like chess player and professional. I would have thought that the idea of King F8 would have occurred to him,
right?
Because someone of his strength and brilliance just doesn't overlook the possibility of walking away and leaving a back rank mate here.
Yeah. And then, I mean, this is the move that Bardeleban played, and I wonder. So if you think that Steinitz did actually think about that move before he played Rook takes E7, do you think Bardeleban was really pleased with himself for having come up with King F8?
I'd say that Bardeleban thought he was now winning. I'm guessing.
Right.
I'd say, but there was something about these tournaments then, and you know more about this than me, but you can correct me on these fronts, just for other people. Like, were they using clocks first? Is the question to ask.
Yes, they were using clocks, and
so they were using clocks, and they had a time control. So that does sort of like introduce kind of a ticking gun, the clocks are ticking down. And the other thing is that what were the playing conditions like in terms of your ability to concentrate and stuff? And I'm pretty sure that they weren't that great.
They had interestingly enough, I've always wondered how the organisers of these events actually, what was the economics of holding an event like this, because you had like 20 players. There was good prize money for the people. I presume the players were all housed quartered in hotels, maybe not the greatest of hotels, but that they were quartered.
Respectable boarding houses.
Indeed.
For travelling gentlemen.
Yeah, and they. So where were they? Where was the money coming to pay for all of that? And I think the answer partly was, I'm guessing that there was other tournaments were played at the same time and I'm guessing those people paid a sizable entry fee, which helped to just like today's events where the entry fees from the lower rated tournaments at an event help to pay for the high prizes in the Masters events. It would be like this, but also spectators at the time could pay 2 shillings and sixpence to get a seat close to the action. So they could sit very close to the game and watch it live. And so 2 and 6 was a considerable amount of money then.
It's in August. This would have been height of the season. Now,
it's
not like in modern times that people all took off August and stuff, but people would have been taking, potentially, day tripping. Kind of things, down from other, nearby towns or from Eastbourne or even from London, potentially going for the weekend. So, I mean, it might have been that this was also a bit of an attraction and it sort of raised the profile of Hastings as a destination. And the way all these seaside towns often probably would have liked to attract a better type of clientele, in the sense of that, not better type, but who had more money. So if you have a big international chess tournament with the world champions playing, or the current world champion, the top players in the world, it might have provided a lot of free publicity as well.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe just
possibly.
guessing.
Sure. Yeah. Anyway, in this position, Bardeleban has just moved his king off to one side. Steinitz can't take the queen with his queen, because then this rook is going to go down here and it's going to be checkmate.
Back rank checkmate.
Back rank mate. Can't take, for the same reason, can't take the queen with the rook. And now he comes up with this incredible idea
which I've never really seen in any other game ever. Now to
Right.
think about it, it's our. I mean, it sticks in your memory. You know,
It does. It
just
does.
it's one of those things you once you've seen it, you never forget it in a way, or if you forget it, you immediately recognize it when you see it again
Yeah.
because it's so unusual.
So he played rook f7 check. And again, if the king can't take the rook because of the knight. But if the queen takes the rook, hoping to get a checkmate like here, then suddenly this rook on c8 is unprotected, and so bad things happen, and and white ends up at least at a knight up. So that's no good. So again, and if Bardeleban walked his king back towards the center, then that would be very bad because we have shakalaka boom, mate. No good. So he has to go to g8, and that's what he did.
And this is probably up. Bardeleban may have even seen up to this point, but he may have missed the next,
Few moves.
next few moves, because
Yeah.
the next beautiful idea is the real killer.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this was, maybe he thought it would be perpetual or something like that back when he played it. But like when I saw this game first, which is maybe, I don't know, 35 years ago or something like that, I was really nervous about my White's back rank. I was really nervous that this rook might end up, dropping off and it'd be checkmate. And I think that's one of the reasons why I found this game so amazing. That
It's like a cliffhanger.
it is a
It's like-
cliffhanger. It is, yeah.
Like all the pieces are hanging there.
Yeah. So White played this beautiful move, rook check, rook g7. It can be taken either way. Again, if the queen takes, he loses the rook on c8. If he takes with the king, if this happens, then the queen drops off with check.
Yeah.
With check, and that's the critical
That's
the critical issue.
points. Yeah.
And then and then we've time to take this rook on c8, and the game's over. So instead, let's see what else. We'll come back to what happens if king takes king to f8, but because a lot of these variations, they're all very similar, and I think that's what makes the combination actually calculable by somebody like of my strength. I think, or maybe even somebody weaker than me. I think it is possible to sit down and calculate all these variations, because the variations, there's just a couple of central themes. So I don't think it's that hard to do it. But yeah, anyway, the king went to h8, and then.
Can I ask you something
Yeah.
just before that? If he goes to f8,
Okay. If he goes to f8,
yeah, so it's like he's repeating the position. So if rook f7,
suddenly
then it's
we play knight h7 check, and now the king can't go to e8 because we take it this, and it'll be checkmate.
yeah,
And so you're forced now to take the rook. But once you take the rook, the queen can be taken with check, and we take the rook,
Wow.
and it's game over. So
wow, it's incredible, isn't it?
So that's why king f8 isn't possible. So after king h8, at this point, apparently Bardeleban, after a few minutes thought, and Steinitz is still thinking here, he got up from the board and walked off. And people were saying that he didn't want to hang around. Like he was in first place leading the tournament, and he's just been smashed off the board here by Steinitz, or he's about to be smashed off. And like Bardeleban was a strong enough player; he could see what's going to happen next. And what happened next was Steinitz played this move.
Yeah,
But Bardeleban wasn't at the board, and they had to wait 50 minutes until the time ran out, until Black's time ran out.
okay,
And at that point, while that was going on, there were all these people coming up to the board. All the other players were coming up to the board. The spectators were all there, and Steinitz was there. He was probably smoking his cigar, and he was saying, "Well, I have a mate in 10." Actually, no, that's a dreadful German accent, Austrian accent. Let me see. I have to get a better. Hang on.
Ich habe Martins insane zugen. I'm guessing. Yeah, I've got Kinderdeutsch for anyone listening. I wouldn't call myself a German speaker.
Indeed.
I only speak chess German. Very limited at that.
But yeah, so he played check again. The king can't take because of the knight. The queen can't take because then this rook drops off. So you have to come back here, and now this is where it's like mate in 9, I think, at this stage. But the rook goes back to g7 check.
Yeah, beautiful. It's the same principle as before. If the king goes to f8, you don't take the pawn on h7. You just go knight h7 check.
You play it. Yeah, you're not taking a pawn this time, but you're still going to the same square, and this forces black to take on g7, and we drop the queen and we drop the rook, and it's horrible. So instead, you've got to go back to h8. But now the difference between this and the previous time is that there's no h pawn, and that makes the h file open for business, which it would be taken care of. And again, we've got to take. This time the queen isn't hanging, but we have this beautiful little little pas de deux. Is it? I don't know. My terpsichorean knowledge is poor, Mark.
Oh no, we're coming on. This is a lexicographer for anyone. This is terpsi what?
Terpsichorea. The muse of the dance.
Oh, the muse.
One of the 9 Greek muses of the arts, and she was the muse for dancing.
Okay. You've told me this before, but I keep forgetting. But
I have. Yeah. So we do this little dance. Now the king, because of the knight and because of the queen, the king has to go to e7.
Yeah.
And now we go here, check. And again, if the king goes, if the king goes to g6, we just take on f6. And that will be checkmate in.
So I feel your Epaulet mate coming on again, the one you showed us earlier.
Exactly. So we just go.
It's an interesting. The pattern keeps on repeating.
And that's why I say this is actually doable. It's doable by. It's calculable by players of my standard. Okay. And so, anyways, here we play check. King goes there, and now we get this check. And as you can see, we've gone to h7, h8, g7, g8, f7, and like if we go here to now we go to f8. So we've gone this little. Hang on, we've gone here.
Yeah,
here.
They brought the black king on a merry dance.
A merry dance, yeah. This is the merry dance of the queen.
Yeah. Wow.
And here. The knight comes in here, and we've got our epaulette, our Joan Collins mate. Bang, checkmate.
Brilliant.
And that was the mate that Steinitz was talking about. 10 moves ahead, and which would have seemed absolutely like incredible. And in those days, like they would announce checkmate.
Yeah.
You know,
and so he didn't want Steinitz booming his voice in the hall in front of all the audience, who are quite animated and chatting away, creating a bit of a ruckus and a rumble. I suppose he just, I think, but obviously this was a critical moment. I mean, like I don't know much about Bardeleban generally. Like he's not a name that pops up very often. It might be interesting to take a look at some of his games.
He won a number of tournaments, Mark, in the 1980s, in the 1880s, and he
invented time travel in his spare time.
No, but he was a curious, like he was. Yeah. From his name, he was from gentry, German gentry. So he had a certain amount of money, but and he studied the law, never practiced. But curiously enough, the way he made his money, Mark, would you believe, wasn't through the high prizes knot of chess tournaments in the 19th century, but it was actually from marrying rich women who wanted to be known as Lady Bardeleban. And they wanted to have to be known as gentry, and they married him, and he would often, and they'd give him a big, their father would give him a big dowry to marry the daughter, and then a few months later he divorced them.
Oh my God! How many women did he marry then?
Let me just check. I'll just check here at the end. There's he married Hedvig Bayer from September 1902 to December 1903. So that was 15 months long. Okay. Then in April 1906 to October 1906, so that's 6 months marriage, to Katharina Kastenmeier.
And on. So we don't need to list them.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 women.
10. My God. That's amazing. I mean, he must have had something going from apart from the title, though, because there can't have been 10 women out there enough to marry the same man for the same motives.
Just
her money.
Just to see, times. I think. Oh, there he is. He's a handsome-looking fellow. I don't know if people see that. Can they? Yeah, they can see that there on the. There he is. He's a handsome-looking fellow.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Well, I
didn't see that. Sorry.
Yeah. As a heterosexual male can offer an opinion, Mark, like myself. Okay. So
well, look, the thing is that that's interesting. So obviously, he must have had the gift of the gab. I don't know what you say that in aristocratic Deutsch, but he must have had. He was a good-looking guy. He didn't have bean basically, but he had a title.
He exactly.
He didn't want to work for a living.
He didn't. He was obsessed with chess. The sad thing, though, was that he didn't have mental stability.
Okay.
And obviously he was a very strong player. He was leading this tournament 7.5 out of 9, and once he lost this game horribly, he had to be persuaded to come back and play. And the next day, the organisers put up a sign saying, "Please do not clap and cheer at the end of games because it disturbs the other players."
Yeah.
And that was apparently common then. And so he came back, but he was a broken man, and he ended up. Oh. I think he ended up not even on 50%. I believe. But Steinitz was reinvigorated. And he went on to. He ended up coming 5th, I think, in the competition.
Okay,
4th or
tremendous
5th.
game. Tremendous game by the first world champion.
Yeah.
Actually, well worth going into all the detail on as well. And I suppose the big theme running through all this has been about pins of one shape or form, and so from B4 to E1 earlier in the game, then on the E file.
Yeah.
And then this incredible pin with the queen on G4. See, and I often think that bishops are kind of neglected pieces on a chessboard. We spend so much more time looking at knights and all the fun things that knights can do, because the thing is, knights always take you by surprise in the sense that they're always doing something you don't expect them to do. But in that game, it's actually the king.
Earlier on, absolutely. Like if we go way back to the opening, I guess it was we had this. The knight here is pinned.
And one thing I just wanted to say, just for modern players watching this, is that the game, just if you play one or two moves, John, after D5, so knight takes castles. Go back.
Oh, sorry, it's this one. Yeah, this one.
So after this position here, pawn takes D5, knight takes castles. This is there's a lot of different lines here, but the modern way to play positions like this is often to capture on C3, either with the bishop and then shore up the center with bishop E6 and get castled, or else just bishop takes C3 followed by castling.
Yeah.
And while these aren't great positions, it's the modern treatment in a way. You need to castle as quickly as possible.
Okay, so castle. Okay, castle. Yeah.
You still keep the threat, but there, what happens is that you eliminate the isolated queen's pawn on D4 but you create a second target on c3, and the length of time it often takes white to get organized to get the c pawn from c3 to c4. You've got to move the bishop and play c4. In that time, black can often set up a kind of a defensive setup where you're a little bit worse as black, but you're doing okay. And
Would
you
you
find
play?
this sort of
Would you go out to
positions.
g4 to pin this knight? I guess you would, wouldn't you?
You got to watch out for queen b3 coming as well.
Okay,
So,
right.
but yeah, so you can even some positions
Oh
here you
yeah,
could
yeah,
even
yeah,
think
yeah,
about,
yeah, yeah.
playing moves like knight c to e7, followed by c6 and bishop f5. I mean, how you play that position is a tiny bit tricky. Obviously, bishop e6, knight g5 is annoying straight away. Maybe bishop g4, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but I suppose yeah, actually, you could go bishop g4 because you are still
Well,
threatening.
in this position,
Yeah.
black has just castled, so it's white to move, and I guess white has to
Oh,
worry about the pawn. Or no,
yeah.
yeah, you have to worry about the pawn on c3. So I
You
would,
get these positions quite a lot in the Petrov defense main lines as well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
this particular structure is quite a well-known structure. But without going into it, but that's just one way you can play. You could also have taken with the knight and then drop the bishop back to e7, and that way you're so instead of so knight takes
It's
c3,
yeah
yeah,
here.
and after pawn takes, then just drop the bishop back to e7, I presume. Although this is probably less favorable because you are very exposed on the a2 to f7 diagonal. You're still walking into a pin, but it, it looks very nice for white in terms of spatial advantage. But anyway, that's one way you can play, and you give up the big kind of like the positional advantage long term of
Okay.
playing against the d pawn. But you have this at least.
Yeah. Anyway, Mark, we'll take a break.
We'll take a break, and guys, anyone listening, when we come back, we're actually going to look at two really interesting kind of like puzzles from contemporary games just played in the last month or so. I think one is from World Junior Championship, possibly, and the other one is by was an opportunity missed by Erigaisi, one of the world's top-rated players in recent month or so. So anyway, stay tuned. We're going to take maybe a 15-minute break
Oh,
and come back. Or how long do you want to go, John?
I
John?
just 5 minutes just to get a glass of water.
Fair enough. Five
Yeah,
minutes, and
yeah.
we'll come back, and then we'll do those two positions, and it won't be as long as the analysis in this game.
No.
But thanks so much, Jonathan, for that really comprehensive like background to that really important game. And actually, it's funny. I surprised myself a few times by seeing things in positions I wouldn't normally play. But one of my little takeaways from that was, in fact, with that bishop on c3. I was automatically thinking about bishop takes f7 check to regain the material when queen b3 is, of course, the only way to play
Much
the
much
position.
for yes for 19th century heroes.
Swashbuckling heroes who are fearless.
Yeah.
So we'll see you in a few minutes, guys.
Okay. Take care, folks. And we're back, Mark.
Hey, John, sir. That was a great game that we just looked at. Very in-depth analysis of a real classic game. I suppose moving straight forward into the modern times, I've been watching some games recently from the World Junior that just took place in Montenegro. It's an event that I always look at with great interest every year. And when I can, I play through as many games as possible. Just find that the event is one of the hardest fought events played annually. Because all the guys and the girls who've been possibly representing their country, through all the different age groups from age 8 or 10 or 12, and they might have only represented them at the age of 10, they finally get one last crack at becoming the world champion for their age group.
And there's no respecting of reputations in the competition.
No,
sure, there
all.
isn't. It's a really tough event to play in. Did you ever play in any of them?
I played in a lot of world championships, the under 14, the under 16, the under 18, and the world junior. Yeah.
Right.
So I had the opportunity to play, and it was just we were picked by ranking. Then whoever was the highest rated player was invited first, and I was fortunate enough that my rating was high enough to get to play in those events once. And they were really wonderful events, and you learn so much. And then the thing is that often those guys, some of the guys in the tournaments invariably go on to be the very best.
Yes.
Like I remember Peter Svidler won the World Under 18 in Szeged in Hungary when I was playing. Mm-hmm. And of course Svidler, became one of the really, top players in the world. So this was an interesting game. The first one I came across, well, not the first, but I've been looking at many different positions, and I'll probably cover a lot of them in different puzzle sections when we're looking at stuff. But this one looked interesting to me because White's in a bit of trouble here. And this is in kind of the women's World Junior. Irina Vujatovic was playing against Afruza Khamdamova. And it's white to play here. It's black to play here.
Yeah, but move. I think move on. Yeah, move on one move because you wanted me to look at from move 28.
Yeah, sort of. So the idea is I wanted to build it up for you here. So in knight c3 was played,
right?
Which is a very kind of challenging move for white. Because what she's trying to do is that she's trying to force an exchange on the c3 square, and that will open up the bishop on g7, which you can see is like firing on all cylinders here. That bishop is going this direction here, looking at d4, and ultimately x-raying that queen on b2. So in this position here, white's kind of forced to take. You've got basically a knight that's hanging on e4, and it's attacked, now 3 times. White has to take one way or the other.
Yeah.
So I suppose the first question you'd be asking yourself is, which way do I take? And
okay.
You can take with a knight, you can take with a bishop.
Can't take with the queen, Mark. Can't take with the queen.
You can't take with the queen. Taking with the queen would sort of like defeat. That would really be it, wouldn't it? So there were two things in this sequence that interested me. And it's at this moment in time that white kind of has to see quite a lot to get to a playable position, a defendable position.
So you're saying this is for intermediate students, did you say,
it's intermediate / advanced? It's
okay.
It's in between.
Okay. So let's see. I've only seen the position just before we came back on air, and I'm thinking if just looking briefly, if knight takes knight, and I'm not going to move the pieces, or you shouldn't move the pieces, but if knight takes knight, pawn takes knight, bishop takes pawn, and then the bishop on b7 can take the knight on f3 and wreck white's kingside pawn structure.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know what happens after that. So that's one line. That's one line I don't really like for white. And I'm looking at another option is just bishop takes knight, pawn takes. Again, if you ever take with the knight, the knight on f3 will drop and ruin our pawn structure. So if I take with the queen, then there's black has pawn takes d4 hitting, and there's an exposed attack from the rook on c8 to my queen on c3. So I don't like that either.
But don't forget that the knight is always hanging in the middle of the board in all these systems where you take with the bishop. And this is kind of the critical moment in the game. Black is better, but
Right.
white has to find the best defensive setup. And funnily enough, these are the hardest positions to play.
I also looked at knight d6 forking the queen and rook, but unfortunately my rook on d1 can be taken and the queen on b2 is under attack, and therefore that well.
So what would you ultimately go for here?
Okay, what will I ultimately go for? Okay, right.
And what's your criteria for making the choice ultimately in the end? Because you can't see all the variations here.
Okay,
And, in the game, like she would have had maybe half an hour to think here.
Is that an idea? I just thought of another idea, which is bishop takes knight, pawn takes, queen c2.
Queen c2.
And defending my knight on e4, and maybe letting me play h3, h4, h5 or something like that, trying to weaken that g6 pawn.
And I suppose you're putting your queen on c2 because then it stops the advance of the c3 pawn.
Indeed,
so
yeah. But
blocks it.
The only thing is that black, you're giving up the d pawn, and you're giving up the black squared bishops, which I don't like either. So, but I think that's probably what I'd play. So let me play it out. I'd play bishop takes here.
Yeah.
Pawn takes, and now queen here. And
queen c2.
This allows. So you get this position, and I think this must be still pretty good for black.
Yeah, and this is the sort of position that you'd have to be thinking about in terms of like how are you going to generate a winning attack here.
Oh wait, hang on. Whoa, hang on. I forgot. In this after pawn takes pawn, we've got our fork. Whoa.
Yeah, knight d6. So let's go back a little bit there.
Yeah.
Queen c2. Yeah.
Okay.
So queen c2.
So I guess you have to.
Here.
So here to avoid that fork, black will take off on e4.
Correct.
And now it's still, we want to take this because we want that c pawn on c3 would be very nice if we could move further forward.
But but are you still happy enough with your choice in terms of practical choice and everything? Like your setup.
Yeah. Because I've got opposite color bishops. And that gives me chances in the endgame to hold. Also, like there's the f7 square is a bit weak. Again, if I can get the d4 pawn is, well, can I actually just take the d4 pawn?
You can take the d4 pawn, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, this didn't happen in the game, but this is where I was looking at this game and going, this is what I would have played.
Yeah.
And then I checked it afterwards using the engine, and I discovered that while it's the right approach by white, there's a small part of the setup which means that white loses horribly in this position.
So you mean there's a hole in this position, is there?
There's a big hole in the white setup in terms of how you got into this position, and maybe having had more time, Arena playing the white pieces here, decided to avoid this line.
Right.
But the interesting thing is that if you're to try to work out what black should play here, this is the puzzle, I suppose. It's now black to play and win.
Wow.
And it's interesting. So we're looking at this from white's perspective as a defender, not seeing what's coming. But I suppose we could turn the position. In order to, we could switch it around in order to give people a chance to just have a look at what's going on here. Because when you see it from the black perspective, there's an awful lot more going on here. Because so there's a couple of things going on here that make this position much more difficult.
Should I flip it? I can flip the board?
You can flip it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I see. I think I've spotted it. I think I've spotted it, Mark.
Yeah, and it's interesting because why is it? I had a few questions about this position. First off, why is it so difficult to see the danger when you're defending, and why is it so obvious as black? So what have you spotted here, Jonathan?
I've spotted knight c5 hitting the bishop.
Okay.
If the bishop goes to this is the only variation I've calculated. I haven't calculated anything else. Now, suddenly, Suddenly. Do, 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 do.
You found it very fast, yeah.
Yeah, see, check. King has to go here, and now I come back, and I have my fork of
You got your fork.
the rook and the
And
queen,
you pick up
the
the
king,
rook.
and I pick up the rook. And but I'm not sure. When having spotted that variation, I was wondering, well, can I just play f3 here?
Well, you can try, yeah.
Which is, it doesn't feel right to do that.
Remember, you're playing black now. You're feeling powered by the power of your position.
Okay,
You're
right.
So you're playing Afruz's position here, and you have a simple enough way to gain advantage here.
Am I?
Yeah.
Bloody hell! I just have f5, don't I? I have f5.
Well, F5 is one way you can go. Yeah.
But you think that?
So
I'm asking for a sacrifice on f5, haven't I? If I go there.
yeah, you're asking for a sacrifice in F5, but think about it. So
Of course.
so attractive?
I do, but I do. Do I? Yeah, I played this first anyway. Check.
Yeah. Okay, but so and after
And now I play f5, and if bishop takes pawn, it doesn't matter. I'm not interested in the bishop. I'm interested in the rook.
exactly queen e1 check.
And I come back and I take the rook again. Yeah.
And there's one thing you'd have to see here as black is that queen e3 check is a slight inaccuracy there because it allows queen f2 and you hold the rook, but you're still lost. You can swap the rook and then take an f5. So you just here you can just swap queens and
take there, and then the c pawn is going to win and with the extra knight anyway. So yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. So that line is a particularly nice one. So what really, if you come back to the original position.
So that was back. That was back.
Yeah, after knight c3.
Here,
after
yes.
knight c3 here. It turns out that, like, when I was looking at this a little bit deeper, what I missed, and I found that variation, without even using the engine there, with the simple tactic there to pick up the rook and d4. It's not a very hard tactical sequence to see, and I showed my intermediate class that particular one. They were pretty quick to find it.
Sure.
But in terms of trying to defend this, if we switch it round, we're looking from White's perspective again.
Yeah. Let me go back. Hang on. I'll just flip the board. Okay.
You can see here how critical the position is, but the interesting thing is that what was it about? So if you're seeing that line very fast for black, it's reasonable to think that you should probably be able to see it, fast, from a white perspective. So the thing is, what about that line led to the loss of material in the game?
It was taking the d pawn.
Well, actually, no, that's not it. That's the point. So it was interesting because it was when you described the original setup, you missed the actual real setup that gives you a chance to hold a position.
Oh,
which is very hard to see. Gives you the best practical chances. So if you're analyzing it there, and look at it from White's perspective here. So you're looking into the bishop takes c3 line here.
Right. Okay, so yeah, bishop takes c3.
Yeah.
Pawn takes.
So this is all forced. So
so that's what it is. You don't play queen c2. You want to stop the check on e1. So you play queen b1.
Queen to b1, and that changes the whole nature of the defense.
Right. Yeah.
Because basically black still has to play bishop takes e4 here.
Yes, to stop the fork. Right.
Yeah, and if your bishop takes, and c takes d4, in this line, not only can you now play knight takes d4 anyway.
Yeah.
But you've also got the c2 square to retreat the bishop to. So you can set up a blockade there.
So if something like this, you could just go here.
Well, there I might be tempted to try something like.
Oh well, of course, no.
F5, yeah.
No, actually, Mark, it's simpler than that. It's simpler than that. You just go bang. Oh yeah, you go bang.
Knight takes F5, yeah. So you can just take there, and bishop check.
And now I just have to watch out for forks.
Yeah. No, well, actually, it's not that. Yeah.
Oh, it's yeah.
No, then you play queen takes c2. Yeah. And now queen takes c2, and now you're winning. So, but you see, well, okay, sorry, I'm not seeing it right. So you're not winning, but yeah,
these are what do they call those? Not intermezzos, mezzos. It's
Zwischenzug.
no, it's not Zwischenzug. It's one of those. Oh, it's when you what the hell is the term? Oh, I've forgotten. This is terrible, Mark. It's when you sacrifice a piece just to what's that called? You know, those like
Positional sacrifice?
no, it's not it's not a sacrifice. It's just like you're going to lose the piece anyway, so you just throw it in. You sack it in somewhere else because you're losing it.
I can't think of it. Maybe somebody listening might know, but I'm not sure if Gianni Scacchi is still there. Does anyone know what Jonathan's talking about? 'Cause I think he's having a nervous breakdown.
Possibly. Like actually our two previous guests, Kurt von Bardeleban, who ended up in an asylum, and also Wilhelm Steinitz. Yeah, apparently he was in. He went to play in a tournament in Moscow, and had a bit of a nervous breakdown, and then he was brought off to the asylum. And he got really frustrated because nobody in the asylum spoke German or English or French or any language that he spoke.
He knew,
and he because he was getting annoyed and angry. The doctor said, "Oh well, you must be mad. Can't speak Russian. Dreadful." And stuck him in the asylum for a month or two. And eventually he got out and went to America. But he ended up.
I think they when they called them sanatoriums, didn't they? That's like more
maybe
that was different. That's for tuberculosis, but well, that's cool. Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah, but I suppose it's an interesting line, though, isn't it? So there's a little lesson in here that's hard. It's hard to actually get to the bottom of. But this idea of queen b1 instead of queen c2, like when I was looking at this, okay, queen c2, this will work nicely. But then you've got all these back rank problems with this. But it seems very counterintuitive to actually go queen b1.
Yeah.
And so that's what.
Oh, Mark, you've gone. Earth to Mark. Mark, you're back.
Oh, sorry.
We lost you there.
I disappeared there for a second. Yeah. So there's no real. So what it really shows is that there's no really obvious way to teach, defense generally, but through analysis of tricky positions and finding little resources, somehow they become part of your kind of like your store of ideas that you can draw down on when you're in difficulty. And just this awareness of the back rank difficulty. And I suppose what is it that there's all these exchanges coming on d4, and there could be a queen e1 check and then a queen e5. Very hard to see, but it's critical. Actually, what happened in the game was that white actually decided to hold on to the two bishops, and after after bishop takes f3, instead of taking g takes f3, she played rook e1.
Okay, but isn't there? No, I was just thinking if pawn takes c3 is possible, but that doesn't seem to quite work.
Yeah, pawn takes c3. Unfortunately, it does look as if you are queening your pawn. The bishop on d3 is doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, it is.
In stopping that, so you win the house there. Yeah. So, and after bishop takes f3, rook e1, queen came to d8, and now white's got a big choice to make. Do you really want to allow the dismantling of the white kingside pawn defenses? Don't really. She played knight e2, putting some pressure on d4, and after the exchange,
but bishop takes. That's
and then she had a very simple winning ending, and she showed good technique to win that.
Right.
A5,
okay.
And so actually, we just show you the game. Went king h1, queen f6, just playing on the dark squares all the time. King g7, she's taking her time.
Here, I'll flip it around because we're
okay. Looking from the black perspective.
We want to be the forces of truth and justice.
Monster bishop on d4 is the real problem for white. Even though there's some counterplay coming on this side of the board, black is playing very calmly here. and rook h8 check is coming. The opening of the h file
Uh-huh.
is leading to all sorts of nasty things there.
Yeah.
And now the position is severely compromised.
There's what?
F5
Oh, F5. Yeah.
and bishop e5, and you still can't even move the queen off the back rank, because as soon as you do,
Yeah.
or queen from guarding the back rank, because as soon as you run into queen check here, and queen g4.
Oh,
and
lovely.
king's one. So it was
Lovely.
really good technique.
Again,
Khamdamova,
the pin.
Yeah,
The pin to
yeah,
win.
it's killer.
Yeah. Okay.
So just the general takeaway there was this idea, and also sometimes it can be funny. You think that by putting a major piece like a queen in front of a passed pawn on the second or the seventh rank is going to stop it, but you're much better off actually dropping a minor piece there. So that might be just a general kind of like thought to have when you're in those kind of positions there.
Right. Anyway,
So,
let's
next-
have a look at this next game that you have. Is this? Oh wait, I've got.
Sorry, no. The next game is it's.
There we go.
It's,
Yes.
yeah.
Sarana against Erigaisi.
Yeah, so no, I was wrong earlier. I said in the previous feed that it was actually Erigaisi who lost, but Erigaisi was in trouble here,
Right.
and
As he
obviously
often
Sarana-
is. As he often
Yes.
is, Mark.
He takes risks, and you don't get to 27.99 without taking a couple of risks as well. But Sarana really had him on the back foot here, and they got to a critical moment in the game. I'll just play one or two moves
Okay.
up to this.
Yeah,
So you can see here.
Oh, okay, right,
particular,
yeah.
Moment here. You've got the white queen, jumping out to h5. This is actually a Nimzo Indian defense. Doesn't look anything like it now.
No, doesn't.
But you can see the pressure that the black king side has come under. You've got a really active rook on c4 for black, and you've got the big pawn mass in the center. But in order to survive, into an ending, black is going to have to be very, very careful because of all those weak pawns, and there's the open g file against the king. So, but at the same time, you've got the potential to double rooks on the c file. So Erigaisi just made the probably sensible decision just to run with the king towards the center. Bishop b3 was played, offering an exchange, I suppose, thinking that if the more pieces that get exchanged, the easier it will be for white. So Erigaisi declined here. He just want to give up the c file.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
And after queen takes h7 here, rook c8. Now black is generating some counterplay there. Rook c3 could be annoying in the future, but there's this position now become extremely critical.
Oh, I see an idea.
Yeah,
I see a little idea from a little family.
Okay. Well, if it was white to play here, I'm presuming you see an idea, yes?
I did absolutely. Yeah.
There's not too many ideas
yeah,
here
yeah,
for
yeah,
black.
yeah,
And here,
yeah.
once again, we're in defensive mode.
Right,
For
right.
black. But we can keep it from a white perspective, though. And,
Okay.
But would you like to give your analysis of this one, Jonesy?
Okay, well here, if it was my move, let's say we make a move like this, yeah. Say a silly move like that,
G7,
right?
yeah.
I'm gonna go bang, and if the bishop is taken, we have shakalaka, boom, Mark.
Yeah.
So
that's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
And you found that really nice idea. Okay, great.
So that's my one idea in this position. So the other thing I noticed is that Erigaisi, he didn't play. He played his rook over to c8, his a rook to c8 there, instead of like maybe trying to hide his king on e7. But of course, hiding his king on e7 wouldn't have actually worked because the e pawn would then be pinned, and we could just take the d pawn. So this looks.
So the problems here. So
Yeah.
I suppose the fundamental problem is there's a threat to take on d5 and play queen h8 mate.
Yeah.
Or else you just win the pawn. So that sort of forces black's hand. And here black went d4. Now this is the moment.
Okay.
This is the key moment in the game from white's perspective.
And you want me to think and try and find a way to win, do you?
It's yeah, and the thing is, it's not like a 2-mover or a 3-mover. It's
Right.
white to play and find the winning plan. So there's a couple of things that work in the position. So I'll just let you analyze it and see what you can come up with there.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking of bishop takes e6 here, but I'm not seeing anything particularly terrific after that. I'm looking at h4, h5, h6, h7, h8 queening.
Okay.
And that looks the most promising to me, to be honest. I'm just thinking, okay, yeah. So I think, I mean, like, I've got, like, the two rooks are on fine lines here. They're active. My queen is like, worrying Black's king. And is not lost at all. The only piece that I'd be slightly worried about is my bishop here, because it's unprotected, and loose pieces drop off, as John Nunn is wont to say.
Okay.
But again, I think if Black's rook ever moves off away from protecting the e-pawn, White will be quite happy to sacrifice the bishop for that. So for that reason, I think h4 is the move I want to play.
Okay. That's interesting you say that, because that was the move that was played in the game by Sarana, and he went on to lose the game. So, because from that, that's just to say.
I'm in good company then. I'm in good company, Mark.
Very good company, yeah. So we take away all the circles and everything for a moment.
Okay, yeah.
And go back to the position here. So there's another way to look at this, and I've often had positions like this where you feel like you're not in that much danger, and you can really sense that if you could find the right plan or the right approach, it would prise open your opponent's position.
Right.
So can I add a couple of ways of thinking to this position based on sort of like my own method of analysis?
Yeah, actually, well, no, I'll give you one more thing before you do that, Mark.
Yeah.
And this is something, because I'll explain. There was a move. I mean, I can see some of your analysis there, and so I know. I was worried about bringing one of these rooks off the back rank, because I could see rook c1 coming.
And because we've just been looking at the Steinitz game again.
And maybe the Steinitz game indeed. But again, one thing with the queen up here, my main focus was to play queen h8 check. But of course, White has another check of queen c8, h6. And from h6, this queen hits the king on f8, but also can see the anything that goes on to c1. And so therefore I don't have to worry about Black playing rook c1 if I move one of these rooks off the back rank.
That's true. So you've solved one of the issues with queen h6 and rook c1. What's interesting here is that if I was playing the black side here and I was really worried, and I would be worried here, I'd probably play d5 to d4 and offer a draw, because this is the moment where you're suddenly getting a pawn that's going to d3.
Yeah.
And you're only 3 moves away from queening.
Right.
And it's very disruptive. You've got potentially rook c3 coming down the line. It looks like the rook on c6 and the queen on b6 are basically guarding these particular squares. So the pawn on e6, very important one, and the c file. So the really key thing here is that, and it's going to sound really basic, but in a position like this, I always ask myself, what's the magic square? And I know it sounds ridiculous because you're talking about a high level grandmaster tournament.
Yeah.
But when I've gone through filtering those ideas, like you have, all of the things you talked about were eminently sensible and they were very good observations. Then I start just asking simple questions to try to see if simple questions can sometimes provide a lot of clarity in an unclear position. So, for example, the move that I really want to play here as White is queen takes f7, checkmate.
Okay.
And I know that sounds really stupid to say, but I have this definition and that is like the magic square is a square that's only protected by your opponent's king. If you can attack that square twice, and one of those pieces happens to be a queen, it could be checkmate.
Right.
And that's the way that I teach scholars mate to beginners of
Yeah,
all ages.
yeah.
But so queen takes f7 check is my ultimate goal here. And the problem is I can't do that because the king can simply take it. But the way I think about it, the idea is, what is the most likely white piece that could help the queen on h7 to arrive on f7? And if you think about it, it's pretty obvious. From here, the piece that is best placed in order to help that is actually the bishop on b3.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
problem is that you just haven't got there yet.
Right.
So that immediately starts getting you thinking about like how can you get rid of this pawn on e6? Because let's say you were to play h4 here after e5, you have checkmate, but that's wishful thinking from White's perspective because you can't get through
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't depend on your opponents basically making a terrible blunder like that, especially when they're 27-99.
Sure.
But just that the simple way of thinking would help you to come up with no. So on the basis of that, thinking about that, so what that means is that this pawn can't move, right? But what people might say was, well, that pawn's not going to move. I'm not going to get through the sacrifice on e6, which you've already talked about.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
doesn't work.
Right.
So there's no joy there. So the question is, how else would you get this pawn to move on e6? And the way the pawn would, how do pawns move? They move forward, but they also move in what other direction?
Diagonally.
Diagonally, but they only move diagonally when they're taking something. So,
Oh.
so here is a very natural thing to think about here is, the queen is very well placed here to cause maximum damage to the black king.
Yeah.
So the bishop can't come in. So it's a question of like chess is about teamwork, getting all your pieces to work together. And you very correctly pointed out here that black can't actually play rook c1 here because of the simple queen h6 check in many lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, obviously here you can't do it because there's already two pieces, but you actually free yourself. Seeing that nice little tack, that potential fork of queen h6 takes c1, gives you the chance to play something slightly different. Now do you see how you could play?
I think I do. I see my e rook coming over to f4 to try and take f6, and then I've got a rook and a queen on f7, and if so let me put the move out. So I play rook here, and I don't know, we do some move, some silly move, like I don't want to play rook c3 here, but I don't want to play rook c1. So let's defend the pawn. Let's defend the d pawn.
Actually, it's quite a nice.
So we play this. Let's
have a look at rook c3 there, by the way, just to show people, because rook c3 actually shows another benefit of this rook lift idea. So if you go rook c3,
you take here now, I guess.
Take an e6.
Yeah,
and
we have to take because and now I see a staircase mate.
A staircase mate. A really simple thing.
A really simple thing, absolutely.
And this is why chess is such a frustrating game, because sometimes to win the most beautiful, difficult games, you just have to ask the right question. And those are simple questions, but which are the right questions to ask? So you need to break down the criteria for that. So let's go back there.
Okay, so instead of rook c3, we're here. So what does
rook c6? Yeah.
Okay, rook d6 to hang on to our d pawn. Although the d pawn isn't actually under. Oh, it is under attack. Yeah,
it's under attack now.
Yeah. Okay, so we play this to defend it. Yeah. No, I was just wondering if the back rank was too weak, but it isn't. Okay, so now I'm going to play rook f4.
And this is trouble and now I think that the white is just completely winning here.
E5 still you can't play e5 to defend this, and if you play f here, we play rook takes.
This is what's so hard to see, because you have to have the thought that pawns don't just move forward, they also move diagonally, which allows you to get to the magic square with queen takes f7 check.
Yay.
And it's beautiful. And if you try to defend that pawn with queen d8,
right,
you find a different path to the magic square. It's all forced.
Okay, hang on.
Or not quite forced, but you can find a different path to win material and the game.
I'm just. Oh, there's just there's just queen h8 check.
Yeah.
King here. Queen takes pawn check.
Yeah.
And you got to go here, and it's looking pretty.
Well, you're winning almost every pawn on the board.
True.
Check.
True. Yeah.
And you've got bishop a4 check coming. So if queen here, that looks pretty grim. amongst other things. But you've won all the pawns, and you're winning the d-pawn as well.
Sure,
so you've eliminated all the threat. So the last thing you got going then in this position here is King E7.
Yeah.
This is also the other thing that's hard to see here.
Okay, do you just now... Oh, wait, hang on. Do we just play... I'm looking at Queen H6 and Queen G7 and Queen H4.
Which one do you think is stronger? So
my feeling is...
Where's the magic square?
F7.
Yeah, so which
so Queen
pawn?
Queen G7 has to be the better one.
Yeah.
Although in this case F7 isn't quite so magic as it used to be.
It's not 100% magic, but the point is that after Queen G7.
Oh, if you play F5, you just drop the D pawn.
Still take. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think you can. I think you can still take.
Pawn takes. Is it?
Queen takes F7.
King D8. Sure. King D8.
King to D8, and now.
Do we do our staircase mate with Rook E1?
No, Rook E1, Bishop B5.
No. Rook E1 does Bishop E2.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. Bishop E2. Hang on, let me just put that on the board for people. And now the thing is that White has to watch out for his back rank, because after Rook takes, this Rook will shoot down and it'll be checkmate in a couple of moves.
Yeah. So that might be pretty. So the question is, can we or can we not play Rook takes F5 there? Sorry.
Apologies, everyone. I was too keen to move these things. Where was our analysis? It was King E7, King E7, King E7, Queen G7, F5, and you think Rook takes F5?
I'm wondering, is Rook takes F5 winning after? So is there? Wait, maybe there's another way to play this. Instead of immediately playing Queen takes F7 check, can we preface that with literally using the E file? Because the Queen is the best square for the Queen isn't clear yet. Can we actually play Rook E1 check first? Does that make a difference? Yeah.
And if of course the F pawn is pinned, therefore putting a piece on E6 is not going to be protected by the but after Rook takes, there's Queen takes.
Yeah, but you take the bishop.
Yeah, now Queen takes.
Yeah, but
sorry, you take with the bishop.
Yeah.
Okay. Right,
so,
gotcha.
So it's not quite winning, but I think I don't know. It's interesting anyway. Let's see what the computer says, because I was looking at this, and it seemed to me that this is winning. But what does the
machine say there?
On this position here.
Yeah. Does it say
let's see, enable?
I guess with all the pawns scattered.
It says +3.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
So Rook. So let's have a look. How would the line play out? Because there would be players who might be nervous here, including me. Queen A6 check, F6, and computer, funnily enough, recommends A4 here, which is a very non-human move.
Shiny.
Bishop goes back to B7, and now Queen D2. King F7. D3, B5, King F7. That's interesting. So you actually just stop. Okay. So you basically prevented the bishop from coming to E4 because you have F3 chasing it away.
Yeah.
And the rook can't come to C8 because you lose this guy. And if the bishop had come to C4 originally, it would have blocked the path for the rook to C8. So you have time to even get that. But a top grandmaster would find this anyway, you'd think, with the right amount of time. And this was a classical game. This wasn't actually a speed chess game.
Right.
So this was a serious game. But if we go back to the original position here, and this is the other critical moment. Like, I was focused in on the magic square there on F7.
The original position where it's like yes. So here, right, okay.
Was that we were trying to find some way to play Queen takes F7 check, or to focus on this idea of creating a path to it. So Rook E4, Jonathan suggested Rook D6, and now Rook F4.
Yeah.
King to E7 is best, and we were looking at three options: Queen H6, Queen G7, and Queen H4. But only one option forces the loss of material in some shape or form. So if Queen H6, E5 is possible, and
Right. Yes. Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
then the whole evaluation of the position turns. But Queen G7 keeps an eye on that square. After F5. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, now this is where working with engines can be very interesting. Sometimes we were only looking at the forcing line. Rook takes F5.
Yeah.
So I was focusing on channeling my inner Tal, but what I should have been channeling my inner Karpov. I think Rook E1, maybe. And although sometimes I think these computer lines are very
Rook
straight.
E1?
They give this as a winning idea. So you're threatening Rook takes F5. So Bishop D3 is forced.
Okay.
And then play Rook H4. How is this winning? This is like mind-boggling.
What?
Yeah. And after Bishop E4, Rook H6. I mean, no human being is going to find this.
What? What the hell is that all about?
This is I don't know. You'd see a position like this.
Oh,
in
because
the
because
championships, yeah.
Because there's going to be what Queen F6 check and followed by Queen F6. I guess. Ah, jeez, this is ridiculous.
You can't possibly find this. So, but the forcing line that we looked at, I mean, this is winning +3 according to the computer. But like no human being could play like this. To be honest, if you played like this, you'd be accused of cheating.
Rightly so. Rightly so. Yeah.
But the obvious move is Rook takes F5, and this is where you
Okay, so look at E takes F5.
Oh, the computer doesn't like it. Oh, no, sorry, not Rook takes F5. Sorry. Did we say Rook E1? Yeah. So the computer likes Rook E1.
No, but we said Rook takes F5 and pawn takes. And we were saying Rook check first. Yeah. And of course Rook interposing with the Rook is losing. So to Bishop takes, as you say. But King D8 and now this was similar to what you could have.
Didn't we?
We took on F7 first, and then we tried Rook E1, but that allowed Bishop E2, so that doesn't seem to work. So go back. But we've already got our Rook on, but go back to the version where the Queen is on G7 and the Rook is on E1 and the King is on D8.
Okay, so this position here.
Yeah, no. So F5. Yeah. Rook takes, pawn takes. Rook E1 check. Rook takes, pawn takes. Rook E1 check.
Rook E1 check.
King D1, D8. King D8. And now the question is there anything here? And I suspect there isn't anything here because I think Black's pieces are too well defended and the king can probably hide on B8 soon enough.
So then the idea of Rook E4 to F4, while looking very strong, is not the winning line that I thought it was. It's close, but no cigar. Unless you play like Stockfish. Unless you play Stockfish, but let's go back then and hear me. But it is technically a winning line. So
right,
Rook here, King E7, Queen G7. The principle is right.
Okay.
And then F5. So you want to set up the threat.
Okay. So Rook E1. Yeah.
And Bishop D3 only move.
Yeah. Okay.
And so then here. Now, what would be wrong with just at this stage just pushing the pawn? So the idea is they're suggesting Queen D8, then you play Rook takes D4. So this looks very strong as well because you're pawn up and
and if Rook takes Rook, there's Rook takes pawn check. And play that. Yeah, Rook takes pawn check. The F pawn is pinned, and the bishop is protecting the rook. So the king has to now move to D7, and you take the rook on D8, that's lovely.
Beautiful.
Checkmate.
It's poetry in motion. So we were looking at this computer line. So this idea of mine is justified. But funnily enough, you just instead of going down,
wait! I've got another idea, Mark. Here.
Okay, so H4.
It's sorry. Instead of Bishop D3, I've my Bishop E2.
Oh, Bishop E2 straight away.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So.
And if you play H4 now, because you can't take the bishop because of the black back rank problems. If you play H4 to give your
D3,
I'm going to play D3. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to play Queen G5 check because that is not a non-computer move. You would find a move like that.
Okay, so
here
king
is
d7,
forced.
d7, king d7. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So bishop a4 check.
Oh,
King goes to c7.
yeah.
Rook takes.
Oh,
Now,
okay. Now I don't have anything. I'm just down a rook, or down a bishop. I mean.
Ganser,
Yeah,
you there?
yeah. I'm still here.
Can't hear you. You were gone silent.
No, you can't see me.
No, I just couldn't hear you there for a
Oh,
second.
of course,
Sorry,
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
Anyway,
go back.
apologies
what was
everyone
that?
for my dance moves.
I didn't see anything. Okay.
You're very lucky.
All right, so John, you have this idea of bishop e2 again with the idea to follow up if h4 to go d3.
Yeah.
Now that is exciting and looks very fearsome and
Yeah.
frightening, and then it's a draw. But we have an extra move in hand.
Okay,
here.
so you play check. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
And then activate the bishop.
okay, and now so Mark, now I'm gonna push back. I'm gonna play bishop b5, blocking the
Yeah,
check.
because I just noticed here, if you just go king c7 here, then you just take the piece.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Happy days.
Yeah.
So that just wins in the
okay,
spot.
so bishop b5 keeps the bishop alive in the game, and you don't have rook takes f5, do you?
No, but well, why not?
Okay, so do I have? Oh no, I don't. Oh, I was going to say bishop takes bishop because I can see if pawn takes, there's queen e7 check, king b5, and then rook c1 check looks very strong, and then bishop b3 check. Yeah, bishop b3 check. Does bishop b3 check do it? Yeah, maybe something that looks.
King's trapped in the middle of the board, so something is going to fall here. So you've got queen takes f7 check at the end of all this.
Yeah.
Stuck in a pin.
Yeah.
So let's just see. Let's play it out anyway.
Okay.
Because we've got to see check. Up there. Oh, look at that! Look at that for a pin. It's like a double pin in both directions.
True.
That is mad. That is absolutely mad. And then the winning move, g4.
What?
Yeah, because you want to avoid your own back rank mate threats, and then you distract this bishop by a4.
Oh my God, Mark!
And
Yeah.
you win. So I mean, but these weirdly enough, these are not
Mark,
hard moves.
Mark, I'm not gonna play chess against you anymore.
No, I was using the engine there.
Oh, phew.
Oh, I know. G4 is an engine move because the arrow is pointing on the board there.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah, so I don't know why. Oh, sorry, I had to turn off the engine there because we were assessing.
Yeah.
But the thing is that in this position
Wow.
here, right? So we got here. So this is the idea. Rook e4. We'll go back for anyone who's following this. Rook e4. Rook e4.
Rook
here,
d6. Rook d6.
Yeah, rook d6. Rook f4.
Yeah.
King e7.
Yeah.
Queen g7. This is all forced now.
Yeah.
f5. We can see fairly quickly that rook takes f5 doesn't work. So a human being can work that out. We could work that out, Jonathan. In 2 minutes. Rook e1.
Yeah.
Starts that. Bishop d3 fails to the very simple h4, h5, and the bishop blocks the path to pawn.
Okay.
You're very playful. Bishop e2, which is brilliant. Queen check. Now, black's problems are sort of like, I suppose, if you go king here, you're just going to get mated. So that's also, a fairly straightforward way to.
Oh, I wonder, Mark, if you play instead of going. Oh, of course, if you play king e8, you've got the same bishop a4 check.
Bishop a4 check
problem.
forces the
Bishop coming back, and you have to come. You have to come.
Well, you've even got. It's even slightly worse here because you've got after bishop b5 here. You can probably play rook takes, and you're threatening bishop takes b5 check. So the bishop is now forced to take this way, but then you can come crashing through queen g8 check. That looks like it should win on the spot after rook takes check.
Yes, because you're losing the c8. The c. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Oof. This is really interesting, fun lines. So if we come back here, so just to say this magical line we just were looking at, and how do we get here?
Yeah.
So the queen must come back in and ask the question of the king.
Right.
King can't go this side, can't go there, it must go here. At which point you can reactivate this fella.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is, if the king comes here, well, sure, then you're taking.
Then we're blocking the C file for our rook, so black's rook, so we don't have to worry about the back rank.
Any sort of like walking into a pin just allows us to take a piece for nothing because there's no back rank late.
Yeah.
Because the rook is pinned by the bishop, which means that.
So after that, bishop b5 has to be played by
bishop
black.
b5 has to be played, and now once again, just because. Rook takes f5, looks key here, and we just looked at this amazing line with pawn takes and queen e7 check, which wins for black. So the other thing to check here then is bishop takes a4.
But so I think that also just allows rook takes pawn check. We've got to go up the board, king, and then there's just rook c1, and it's mating.
So rook c1 check.
It's mating then.
So that isn't beyond the pale for like a 2670 former 2700 plus GM. I think he's been over 2700 to find.
Well, Mark, given that we found it easily with two heads moving the pieces plus having Stockfish turned on every so often.
Yes. How did he miss it?
How did he miss it?
How did he miss it? We're not delusional at all. Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. Well, look, anyway, guys.
Wow, that was a treat, Mark. That was a fantastic. Yeah. I love that.
That was a fun position. But I often sort of like to try and improve my own game. It's great puzzles for students. I'll be looking for misses in big games. Yeah. And this was kind of a big one. But the thing is that if you want to see how the game went, I mean, obviously it's still very good for white here. H4. D3 was played, but even if the engine is very much, I haven't turned it on, but is very much in favor of white here. The fact that you've got this pawn on D3 is existentially terrifying because it's so close to queening.
Right.
And while that pawn is going to H5, look at how active the queen is becoming now.
Yeah.
And after rook E4, queen B2. You're just beginning to, cause practical problems for black in lots of different lines. I know this is supposed to be much better for white, but white wasn't able to find a path through the complications here.
Right.
Played the check, king came here, and after queen e3...
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right. Yeah, to defend him, and then queen came into c1. Now, queen takes a7 check is still on the cards here, which is played, but then rook c7 takes, and suddenly now... It's all going.
The D pawn is definitely
Mr.
cruising.
D pawn is coming, and after Queen E5 check, he resigned. So it all just fell apart.
Yeah,
and it's a really tough game to lose because really strong players or players who are like 100, 200 points ahead of you. And I find in my experience, they will tilt their position enough to get winning chances that you will get a chance to win yourself. But there might only be one chance in a game when you get that shot.
And you don't take it, you're gone.
You lose.
Yeah,
and that it really he's an interesting player, Sarana, very interesting player, and he had a beautiful position there. But I think just goes to show that thinking about the magic square or focusing in on that, especially when the king is sort of like pushed towards the center, can enable you to find the winning idea. Not in terms of brute calculation, but just thinking conceptually. So that's
right.
That was the point of that one. So
fascinating. It reminds me of 19th century chess while we were chasing this king across the board, and I do wonder if I suspect we don't see as many of those king chases as was seen 100 years ago or 150 years ago. I think there are fewer, and I know when I have the chance of doing them, I find it difficult to calculate because I know they say checks, captures, threats, whatever the CCT thing, but I find it when there's so many options, it could be really hard to spot the one that actually works.
But they do give you positions like this, which has to be our position of the day. To finish on, I think we have to
True,
finish the
true,
stream
true, true.
on this position, and
Yeah,
just in terms
and
of
who wouldn't find a move like G4 in this position for white?
yeah, it's obvious.
Totally,
Actually,
Mark.
Right, guys, thanks for coming today. That was a lot of
Thank
fun.
you.
I hope you enjoyed that, and this will be hopefully posted to YouTube, and we'll be creating some short videos out of the positions we looked at today, and hopefully they'll be up sometime next week. So if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. But thanks so much for coming along today, and for the comments as well from Gianni Scacchi.
Thank you very much. Cheerio, everyone.